Hello, my friend, and welcome to this podcast. Today we are going to talk about something that can truly change your life. We are going to talk about learning English and how this simple skill can open doors that you may not even imagine right now. Many people around the world want to learn English. Millions of people start this journey every year. Some people start with excitement and motivation. They buy books, download apps, watch videos, and promise themselves that this time they will finally learn English. But after some weeks, something happens. Life becomes busy. Motivation becomes smaller. The lessons become harder. And many people stop. If this has happened to you before, I want you to know something very important. You are not alone. This happens to millions of learners. And the reason is not because they are not intelligent enough. The reason is not because English is impossible to learn. The real reason is that many people approach language learning in the wrong way. Learning English is not about being perfect. It is not about memorizing thousands of grammar rules. It is not about speaking like a native speaker immediately. Learning English is about building a habit, a daily habit. Think about how children learn their first language. A child does not sit in a classroom studying grammar. A child listens. A child repeats sounds. A child makes mistakes every single day. Sometimes the child says words incorrectly. Sometimes the child mixes sentences. Sometimes the child invents words that do not exist. But nobody tells the child to stop speaking. Nobody says that the child is bad at language. Instead, the child continues speaking, listening, and experimenting with words. Slowly, day by day, the brain begins to understand patterns. Words begin to connect with meanings. Sounds become familiar. And after some years, the child becomes fluent without even realizing how it happened. This natural process is the same process that adults must follow when learning a new language. The difference is that adults often feel embarrassed when they make mistakes. Adults worry about pronunciation. Adults worry about grammar. Adults worry about what other people will think. But mistakes are not a problem. In fact, mistakes are one of the most powerful teachers you can have. Every mistake is information. Every mistake shows you what you can improve next. If you change the way you think about mistakes, your learning journey becomes much easier. Instead of feeling embarrassed when you say something wrong, you can see it as a victory. Because speaking, even imperfectly, means you are practicing. English is not a test. English is a tool. It is a tool for communication, for connection, and for opportunity. Today, English is one of the most widely used languages in the world. It is the language of international business, science, technology, travel, and communication. When you understand English, you suddenly have access to an enormous amount of information: books, courses, podcasts, videos, documentaries, and conversations with people from every part of the planet. This is why learning English can change your life, not only because of better jobs or better salaries, although those things are real possibilities, but also because English expands your world. It allows you to see new perspectives, learn new ideas, and communicate with people whose lives are completely different from your own. And the best part is this: you do not need to be perfect to start using English. You only need courage. Courage to speak. Courage to listen. Courage to continue even when progress feels slow. Remember this simple truth. Fluency is not built in one day. Fluency is built through small actions repeated many times. 10 minutes today. 15 minutes tomorrow. A short conversation next week. A new word learned every day. These small actions may seem insignificant, but over time they create something powerful. They create momentum. And momentum is what transforms beginners into confident speakers. So if you are listening to this right now, Take a moment and appreciate the fact that you are already doing something important. You are investing time in your learning. You are training your brain. You are moving forward. And every small step you take today is building the English you will speak tomorrow. Now let us talk about one of the biggest obstacles people face when learning English. And that obstacle is fear. Fear is something that affects almost every language learner at some point in their journey. It is the fear of speaking incorrectly, the fear of forgetting words, the fear that someone will laugh, or the fear that others will judge the way we sound. This fear can become a wall between you and your progress. But here is something very important to understand. Fear is natural. Fear appears when we try something new. When we enter a new situation, our brain wants to protect us from embarrassment or discomfort. However, growth only happens when we move a little beyond our comfort zone. Imagine learning to ride a bicycle. The first time you try, you are nervous. Your balance is not perfect. Maybe you fall. Maybe you feel awkward. But if you stop trying after the first fall, you will never learn to ride. The same idea applies to learning English. The first conversations may feel uncomfortable. You may search for words. You may pause while thinking. Sometimes your grammar may be wrong, and that is completely normal. In fact, these moments are signs that your brain is working. Your brain is building connections between sounds, words, and meanings. Every time you attempt to speak, even if the sentence is not perfect, you are strengthening those connections. Another important thing to remember is that most people are much more understanding than you think. When someone hears a person speaking English with effort, many times they feel respect. They recognize the courage it takes to communicate in another language. Instead of focusing on your mistakes, many people focus on your effort. There is also another truth that many learners forget. Communication is not only about grammar. Communication is about meaning. If someone understands your message, the communication is successful. You do not need perfect grammar to communicate effectively. For example, imagine someone saying, "Yesterday, I go store buy food." The grammar is not perfect, but the meaning is clear. You understand the idea. With time and practice, that sentence becomes more natural. Yesterday, I went to the store to buy food. But the important thing is that communication already happened. So do not wait for perfection before speaking. Speak with the English you have right now. Even if your vocabulary is small, you can still create many sentences. Simple language can express powerful ideas. Another helpful strategy is to practice speaking alone. This may sound strange at first, but it is one of the most effective techniques for building confidence. When you speak alone, there is no pressure. There is no fear of judgment. You can describe your day, explain your thoughts, or even imagine conversations with other people. For example, you can say things like, "Today, I woke up early. I made coffee. I checked my phone. I started my work." These simple sentences may seem small, but they train your brain to produce English naturally. With time, your sentences will grow longer and more complex. You will begin to express opinions, ideas, and emotions. And all of this begins with simple practice. The key is consistency, not perfection, not talent, not intelligence, just consistent practice. If you speak a little English today and a little more tomorrow, and continue doing this for months, you will notice something incredible. The language that once felt impossible will slowly begin to feel familiar. Your ears will recognize sounds more easily. Your mind will remember words faster. Your mouth will produce sentences more naturally. And one day, you will realize that you are having conversations that once seemed impossible. Another powerful concept in language learning is immersion. Immersion simply means surrounding yourself with the language as much as possible. When people move to another country where English is spoken, they often learn very quickly. This happens because English becomes part of their daily life. They hear English in stores, on the street, on television, at work, and in conversations. Their brain begins to adapt to this new environment. The language stops feeling foreign and starts feeling normal. But here is something many learners do not realize. You do not need to move to another country to create immersion. Today we live in a digital world where English content exists everywhere. You can transform your daily environment into an English learning environment. For example, you can change the language of your phone to English. At first, this may feel strange, but soon you will begin to recognize many common words like settings, messages, notifications, battery, and updates. You can also watch videos, movies, and documentaries in English. At the beginning, subtitles can be helpful. They allow your brain to connect the sounds you hear with the words you read. Over time, you can challenge yourself by watching without subtitles. Music is another powerful immersion tool. When you listen to songs in English, your brain becomes familiar with rhythm, pronunciation, and common expressions. Many learners discover that song lyrics stay in their memory for a long time. Podcasts are also excellent for immersion because they train your listening skills. Even if you do not understand everything at first, your brain is still learning. Listening regularly allows your ears to adapt to the natural speed of English. One important mistake many learners make is trying to understand every single word. This can create frustration. Instead, focus on understanding the general idea. If you understand 60 or 70%, that is already great progress. Your brain will fill in the missing pieces with time. Language learning is similar to solving a puzzle. At first, the pieces seem random and confusing, but as you continue practicing, the pieces begin to connect. Words form phrases. Phrases form sentences. Sentences form ideas. Little by little, the picture becomes clear. Patience is very important during this process. Many learners want fast results. They want to speak perfectly after a few weeks. But language learning is more like growing a tree than pressing a button. A tree needs time, sunlight, water, and care. At first, you may not see much change, but beneath the surface, the roots are growing. And one day, the tree becomes strong and tall. Your English is the same. Every minute of listening, reading, and speaking is strengthening your foundation. Another important element of learning English is building the right habits. Habits are powerful because they reduce the need for motivation. Motivation is wonderful, but it does not appear every day. Some days you feel inspired and excited. Other days, you feel tired or busy. Habits allow you to continue learning even when motivation is low. One simple habit you can build is daily exposure to English. This does not require hours of study. Even 15 or 20 minutes a day can produce powerful results over time. For example, you might begin your morning by listening to a short English podcast while preparing breakfast. During your commute, you might listen to English conversations or audiobooks. In the evening, you might watch a short video or read a few pages of an English article. These small activities may not seem impressive individually, but together, they create consistent exposure to the language. Another useful habit is learning phrases instead of only individual words. Words by themselves are helpful, but phrases show you how those words work together. For example, instead of learning the word take, you can learn phrases like take a break, take your time, take a look, or take a chance. These phrases appear frequently in natural conversations. When you learn phrases, you also learn rhythm and structure. This helps your English sound more natural. Writing can also be a powerful tool. You can keep a simple journal in English where you write about your day. The sentences do not need to be complex. Even short sentences can strengthen your ability to express ideas. For example, Today I worked a lot. I felt tired but productive. After work, I watched a video in English and learned new words. These small reflections help you practice vocabulary and sentence construction. Another helpful strategy is reviewing what you learn. Repetition helps move information from short-term memory to long-term memory. When you see a word several times in different contexts, your brain remembers it more easily. Learning English is not about memorizing thousands of words quickly. It is about seeing useful words many times until they become familiar. Over time, your vocabulary grows naturally. Before we finish this podcast, I want you to take a moment and think about something very simple, but very powerful. Think about the reason why you started learning English. Maybe you wanted a better job. Maybe you wanted to travel and communicate with people around the world. Maybe you wanted to understand movies, music, and books without translation. Or maybe you simply wanted to challenge yourself and grow as a person. Whatever your reason is, it matters. Learning a language is not only about vocabulary and grammar. It is about transformation. It is about becoming a new version of yourself. When you learn English, you are not only learning words, you are expanding your mind. You are building confidence. You are creating opportunities that did not exist before. Many people underestimate the power of learning a language. They think it is just another subject to study. But language is much more than that. Language is connection. Language is understanding. Language is the ability to communicate ideas, emotions, dreams, and knowledge. When you learn English, suddenly the world becomes bigger. You can listen to people from different countries. You can read ideas written by people from different cultures. You can discover perspectives that may be very different from your own. This ability changes the way you see the world, and it also changes the way the world sees you. Because someone who speaks another language shows curiosity, discipline, and courage. Learning a language requires patience. It requires persistence. It requires the willingness to make mistakes and continue anyway. And those qualities are powerful qualities in life. Sometimes during your journey, you may feel frustrated. You may feel that your progress is slow. You may listen to a conversation and feel that you understand very little. You may try to speak and suddenly forget the words you wanted to say. These moments are normal. Every learner experiences them. Even people who speak English fluently today had moments like these when they were beginners. The difference between people who succeed and people who stop is not talent. The difference is persistence. Persistence means continuing even when the progress feels slow. It means practicing even on days when you feel tired. It means believing that improvement is possible, even when you cannot see immediate results. Imagine planting a seed in the ground. On the first day, nothing appears. On the second day, nothing appears. On the third day, nothing appears. But beneath the soil, something is happening. The seed is growing roots. It is preparing itself. And one day, suddenly, a small green leaf appears above the surface. Language learning works the same way. Many times the progress is invisible at first. Your brain is collecting sounds, patterns, and meanings. It is building connections that will later become understanding and fluency. And then one day, something surprising happens. You watch a video and realize you understand more than before. You hear a conversation and recognize words you learned months ago. You speak a sentence and notice that it comes out more naturally. These moments are exciting because they show that your practice is working. But these moments only appear when you continue the journey. So do not compare your progress with other people. Everyone learns at a different speed. Some people learn quickly at the beginning. Others learn slowly, but build strong, long-term skills. Your journey is unique. Focus on your own improvement. If today you understand a little more than yesterday, that is progress. If today you speak one sentence more than last week, that is progress. If today you feel a little more confident than last month, that is progress. Small progress is still progress. Another important thing to remember is that English does not need to be perfect to be powerful. Many people around the world speak English with different accents and different levels of grammar, but they communicate successfully. They work together, share ideas, and build businesses and friendships. Communication is the true goal. If someone understands your message, you have succeeded. With time, your grammar will improve, your vocabulary will expand, your pronunciation will become clearer. But those improvements happen through use. Language grows through practice. It grows through conversations. It grows through listening, reading, speaking, and thinking. And this is something very important. Thinking in English. When you begin to think in English, your learning reaches a new level. Instead of translating every sentence in your mind, you begin to produce ideas directly in the language. This process may begin slowly. At first, it may be only small phrases, simple thoughts like, "I'm tired," "I need coffee," "I have work today." But these simple thoughts are powerful because they train your brain to use English naturally. Over time, those thoughts become longer. You begin to think about your plans, your opinions, and your goals in English. And that is when the language truly becomes part of you. So continue exposing yourself to English every day. Listen to podcasts, watch videos, read articles, repeat sentences, speak whenever you have the opportunity, and most importantly, be patient with yourself. Learning English is not a race, it is a journey. And every journey is made of many small steps. One word, one sentence, one conversation at a time. Years from now, you may look back at this moment and realize that this was the time when everything started to change. The time when you decided not to give up. The time when you decided to continue learning, even when it was difficult. And that decision will shape your future. Because every skill you build today creates opportunities tomorrow. So keep learning. Keep listening. Keep practicing. Your voice matters. Your ideas matter. And the world becomes a little more connected every time someone learns to communicate in another language. Thank you for listening to this podcast. And remember, your English journey is only beginning.